Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest online event here at the University of California, Merced. My name is Ricky Hill. I am an e-recruiter here at UC Merced. A huge welcome to you this evening. We are thrilled that you could join us tonight while we talk about understanding your document deadline. Before we get started, let me give you a couple of quick reminders. If you'd like to adjust your audio settings, you can do that in the lower left corner of your screen. If you would like to adjust the size of your window, click on View Options in the upper portion of your screen. Lastly, and of course, most importantly, we would love to get to your questions tonight, so take full advantage of that Q&A button that you should see on your screen. Go ahead and send us those questions. We're fully staffed, as always, behind the scenes with our content experts who will be getting to those throughout the presentation. We also will be hosting a live question and answer session at the end of our program tonight. Once again, my name is Ricky Hill. A great honor to be here with you tonight as we go over understanding your document deadline. At this time, I'd like to hand things over to Ruben.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Ricky, I just want to remind everyone that this is kind of a last-minute webinar that we decided to host for you all, so it was not part of our original plan. But, this time of year, we get lots of questions, and it just reminded us, like, hey, we've got this new option to communicate with students, so why don't we try and throw something together? Hopefully by the end of this, your anxiety about missing this deadline is a little bit lower than when it started. So let's go through. Tonight, we're going to talk about the document deadline, what we mean by deadline, when it is, and make sure we're clear about that. Kind of what happens behind the scenes, what we're currently doing with all the documents that are being received, to give you an idea of just how long it takes us to work with each one of your documents. We're going to look at the checklist, so it's clear for you to kind of what the different checklist options mean, what it looks like in different scenarios for you. And then we're going to go over the very critical question that I think a lot of you might have is, what if I missed the deadline? It's July 1st, my checklist still shows it as not received. What's going to happen? So we'll cover that just to kind of explain what options we have after that. So document deadline. If you're not aware of that already, document deadline is coming up. So we list it as a July 1st postmarked or electronically received deadline. So postmark is if it's being sent via postal mail. When the post office gets it, they put a mark on it that says when they received it. So if your school is sending it via postal mail, or maybe you picked up a sealed copy of your transcript yourself and you plan on mailing it, you should get that postmarked by July 1st. And of course, since it's postal delivery, it then takes a while for those documents to get to us. It's not immediate. So we'll talk about what that means kind of later on. But yeah, postmarked by July 1st or electronically delivered by July 1st. Electronically delivered is through vendors that we've approved and that we're going through. Not all UC campuses go through the same vendors. So at Merced, we work with Parchment. They deliver quite a few different types of documents for us, but we see them as Parchment. This includes Naviance. So if your school is a Naviance school and your counselors say we sent it via Naviance, it's coming through Parchment most likely. So Parchment's a big vendor and they do a lot of stuff for us, but we see them as Parchment. National Student Clearinghouse, this is mostly college transcripts, but we do receive transcripts via that method. And I always say this wrong, and some of our staff make fun of me, but Scour, S-C-O-I-R, it's another vendor. Mostly high schools send their transcripts via this method, but we get that. All these have a secure method where we log into and we download those transcripts. So one of the big things I want to make sure we're clear about is that we do not take transcripts via email. So if you're emailing it to us or your counselor's emailing it to us, or some vendors allow you to put in an email to have the transcript emailed to us, we don't accept transcripts via email. So one tip is avoid putting an email address in unless absolutely necessary. A lot of vendors have a drop-down list that you search for UC Merced, and maybe multiple departments show up: registrar, summer session extension, teaching credential, or admissions or undergraduate admissions. So you want to select the undergraduate admissions or admissions undergraduate or admissions, one of those options, and they'll get delivered to us through that secure method. Again, if you're entering an email address, it's likely that it'll be emailed to us, and we might not accept it that way. Another thing I want to add about Parchment is we do have filters in some of these vendors, especially Parchment. So if your school sends it as like a mid-year transcript, that'll be filtered out and you'll receive an email that says we've received your transcript. But Parchment will include a message in that says your school sent it as a mid-year transcript. If you think that's an error, please email us and let us know. So that download confirmation message you get from some of the vendors, read that carefully to see if it was auto sorted to a sort that we don't necessarily pay attention to at the moment. Because again, some schools may incorrectly send it as a mid-year transcript, but all you need to do is just email us and say, hey, I got this message that said it was sent as a mid-year, but I think it's my final transcript, and we'll look into it for you. So again, pay attention to emails that you receive as part of this process as well. So that's what we mean by document deadline. Processing timeline, again, they're kind of different based on paper versus electronic. Paper transcripts, we have to wait to receive the records, and that can take quite some time. Anywhere between, I would say, 5 to 10 business days, just waiting for the postal service to get us that transcript. So if it is sent via paper or postal service, that does add significant time for us just to receive it. After we receive it, we have to open it, scan it into our system, and then find out whose transcript it is. So all of that can take a few days as well, just because of the volume that we're receiving at the moment, doing all those different steps. Then we have to update your checklist. So once we find out it's your transcript, then we have to tell our systems that it's yours, and so the checklist can see it. And then we go through a verification process. So you'll see an example of this when we get to your checklist and what it looks like. But things will stay as received, not yet reviewed, until we verify your record. So those two things are probably the two things in bold: to update your checklist and verify the record are probably the two processes that take, I would say, once it's in our office, those are the two that take the longest. And we'll talk more about the verify your record piece when we see that checklist example. But yeah, so again, I say on the bottom that this could take 2 to 3 weeks from the time of your order to show reflected on your checklist as received, not yet reviewed, and then possibly longer than that to verify it, which again, we'll talk about later. For electronic transcripts, it's a little bit quicker. We cut out that receive portion, but for our campus, we still have to download the record from those approved vendors. We have to import them into our systems one by one. We're working on automating that, but it's not coming this year, unfortunately. So we still download them and import them into our systems, connect it to your record. So again, find that it's your transcript and identify it as such. And then again, that more lengthy part of updating your checklist and verifying the record. So that's what's taking us a bit of time. But again, 2 to 3 weeks from the time of your order. If it's been longer than that, I'm going to get into a slide later on that hopefully, if you just take a deep breath, it'll work itself out. So don't get too concerned if it's been longer than 3 weeks already. We have things in place where we can, we have double checks and triple checks and all that we'll talk about later. One thing that I will ask of you is please don't send duplicates. If you know you've ordered a record from your school and you know it was sent to the correct address, if it's being postal mailed, or you have confirmation that it was sent to UC Merced through one of our approved vendors, then just give it time to work through the process. Duplicates just add to the numbers that we have, and it will slow things down. And again, we'll talk more about that. What if you missed the July 1st deadline steps kind of afterwards? Or again, hopefully it'll ease your stress about meeting this deadline. So let's get into these checklist views. And I forgot to mention that this PowerPoint is probably not going to be too lengthy. Hopefully just a lot of information and then a lot of time to answer your questions. So checklist views. The main one is hopefully what you started out seeing after you submitted your intent to register to our campus, and that's just no admissions records received. And we're really going to focus on the admissions records as part of this. We don't really have the information to answer kind of the health services and the financial aid pieces. We can work with our Students First Center. I think Lisa might be here from Students First Center, so she might be able to answer some of these, but mostly the admissions items. So here you see a student that went to Merced College and Merced High School, and we've received no documents from them yet, or at least it hasn't been processed to the point of showing on their checklist. So this student would need to confirm that they've ordered these records and that they were sent to UC Merced admissions office. And as long as they have confirmation that that was done, then it's really just a wait time frame at this. Maybe they ordered them yesterday and it hasn't been that 2 to 3 week time period quite yet. So this student would just need to wait to see. If it's been received, then you'll see this more yellow triangle shape and it will say received, not yet reviewed. So that means we've gotten that document. You've met the July 1st deadline and everything's good to go. I would, however, recommend you check this status maybe once a week, maybe once a day closer to, that deadline period or whatnot, or throughout the summer. Definitely once a week, come in here, check the status of this. If we review it and notice any issues with it, we'll update your checklist to let you know what issue we found with it. Maybe it's missing a graduation date. So we'll update that to say, incomplete, missing grad date. So definitely keep your eye on this until it's absolutely complete and you'll see green check marks. But until then, come back and check the status of this while we complete our review. Again, this could be showing now for you, and it may not be updated until early August. So right now our staff are going through applicant by applicant and verifying information on a random basis kind of. So there's no real rhyme or reason the order. But as soon as someone gets to your record and they verify and they complete their review, and then we update it to say it's finished, this will change to say complete. So until you see that complete thing, just know you've met the July 1st deadline, but still check back about on a weekly basis to make sure nothing's been updated or nothing's changed for you until you see those green check marks that it's been complete. Here we have an item that we received something, but it's incomplete. So here's an example of a college record that's incomplete. So you can see here that the De Anza College requirement is still unsatisfied, but we've added a new item on your checklist that says we received something, but it's incomplete. And it's incomplete because the spring courses are still in progress and we still need that final record showing all your spring courses. So in this example, the student took spring courses, so that's what's making it incomplete. Next is an example of a high school record that was received that's incomplete. So again, you see that new incomplete item that's been added, and it's just simply missing a grad date. So for this, you might want to contact your high school and verify that they can send a new record showing your graduation date. We need month, day, and year on the transcript. So they can simply resend that, get us a new copy of the record. And again, as long as it's postmarked by before July 1st, then you'll meet the deadline. But even so, we've received something, and it's not hopefully it's not your fault that it's missing a grad date because you have graduated high school. So we'll work with you to give you time to get this corrected. But again, keep an eye on this checklist and look for any of these incomplete items that might show up to see what we're missing and work with your school to get that fixed. This one is more of just I wanted to show it to you just so you can see what it looks like, but some students are taking summer school at a college. So in this example, we've received the Bakersfield College transcript. So you can see that's marked as received, not yet reviewed, but they're also taking summer school courses. So we've added the summer item. You can see the very bottom, it says summer transcript required. This is more so just to allow you to track whether we've received that summer coursework or not. So your main July 1st deadline is met. You can see that the student still needs to get the high school transcript in, but the college requirements met. And the summer transcript will be updated later in the summer when we get that summer transcript. So if you are taking any summer coursework, your checklist likely will be updated to look like this. For AP exams, just to let you know that for most students, not all, but a majority of students, the AP exam scores will show up on your checklist if we received any official AP scores. So they're likely not there now, but as soon as we get, maybe you took AP exams this last May and you've sent us the scores. As soon as we get those, you'll see your checklist updated indicating that we received those scores. If we don't receive them, then they'll most likely not show up, but some students do have it as a requirement, so it will be listed as unsatisfied. In that case, you do need to make sure to get the scores to us. But I just wanted to point this out that if you are sending AP scores in and you want to know if we receive them or not, you can check your checklist and they should show up to show as received, not yet reviewed, just like all your other items when we receive the official scores. So with that, what happens if it's after July 1st? Your checklist is still showing as unsatisfied or not received? What's going to happen then? Well, We talked about postmark and how it can take quite some time for those to get to us. So we've got to wait for all those postmark deadlines to get to us. I'm going to guess maybe around 5 business days for us to get all the July 1st postmark deadlines submitted. And there's a holiday between there, July 4th, which is a Monday. So, it might take later on through that week for us to get all the received or the postmarked received documents. And then we still have to open them, scan them, find out who they belong to, and update your checklist. So, it takes several days for us to get through all those postmarked documents. So we need to wait until that completes. And we think we've got everything in the system that was postmarked by July 1st. During that time, we'll continue to process anything else that arrives, right? We have to wait for the July 1st postmark. So if an electronic vendor sends it during that time, we're still going to process it. We're still going to update your checklist and all of that. Once we're sure we've kind of received everything that was sent by the deadline, then we start looking at who is missing documents, right? But before we contact you, we go through several checks. So we get a list of everyone missing documents, and we go through all of the documents we've received. We go through our electronic vendors. We do as many searches as possible just to make sure we don't actually have the document. And that in itself takes several days, if you can imagine, right? So we're going to triple check things to make sure that it wasn't our mistake. We're human, so it's quite possible for someone to, maybe skip an item or it wasn't processed correctly. So we're going to do lots of different checks to make sure your document isn't actually here. Once we complete all of that, then we're going to send a message out to students that are still missing that deadline. And the email it's going to be the beginning of a conversation. So we email and say, hey, we're missing something from you that we needed. We've done all of our checks and we think it's still missing. At that point, when you get the email and you say, whoa, no, Ruben, I ordered that transcript. I know I did. I have an email that says I ordered it. We're going to give you a form to go to. So you just click a link, you go to a form, and it's going to ask you some questions, right? Do you have was it sent through parchment? If so, do you have your document ID number that they send you, right? And you can type that in. Or, you can attach your confirmation email that says you ordered the transcript, and maybe it was sent under a different name. And so we'll ask you what that different name was for us to search under. So again, we'll ask you to go to a web form, answer some questions, provide us some more information, and we'll look for your transcript with that new information, right? If we can't find it, then we'll just simply let you know that, even though you have a confirmation that you ordered it or whatnot, we're still unable to locate the record. And we'll work with you to give you time to order a new record and get it sent to us. So we'll continue to work with you as long as you keep that conversation going. So again, check your email. That's the number one kind of word of advice I have here is check your email and look for this message that we send you and reply to it as quickly as you can. If you reply to that message, again, we'll keep your admissions active and we'll work with you to get that document in. If you don't respond to that email by the deadline that we give you, then we're going to take that as you not being interested in attending our campus, because we do have students who just stop communicating with us and their plans have changed and they don't want to come anymore. So those that don't communicate with us, we take that as they're not interested in enrolling, and we will eventually withdraw their admissions offer because they've had no communication with us. We've emailed them, we've texted them, most likely we've called them as well, and we've gotten no response from them. So we will withdraw their admissions offer. So respond to that communication we send you by clicking the link and filling out the form, and we'll work with you to get whatever document might be missing into our office. One of the last things I want to say is that even though we'll work with you and we'll continue your admissions, if you're communicating with us about us getting that transcript, there is a point where we have to draw the line, and that's going to be housing move-in. So it's very likely that if we don't have all the required documents by housing move-in weekend, then we will ask housing to not hand your keys over to you until we receive that document. So that's kind of the last point, is you getting a copy from your school that we need, driving it to our campus, and you'll probably be meeting with me or one of the other chatters in the room to collect that document before we can clear housing, allowing to move you in. So that's kind of the last option we have, which I don't recommend waiting that long. I really recommend getting the record to us sooner. But again, we're here to work with you to get whatever documents are in. So again, we are processing them now. We were scanning transcripts right before this webinar. The chatters can confirm that they heard the scanner. So we're scanning transcripts and working with transcripts as much as we can to get that checklist updated and our processes done. So just kind of, if you have that confirmation that you've ordered it and it's sent to our office correctly, then we will continue to work with you to get that item in. And as I just explained, even after the deadline, there's lots of different checks and balances that go in place to give you an opportunity to get that record to us. So
wonderful. And as we are wrapping up here, I will give both Ruben and Lisa a moment here. If you have a couple of last words you'd like to share.
I saw lots of questions about orientation tonight, and so I want to send you all the FAQ because it can answer some of the questions that I think people had about the orientation event. And then just kind of echoing some of the things that Ruben said, if you need help, ask earlier rather than later. We are all here to help and guide you through this summer and on your way to becoming Bobcat at UC Merced. So please reach out if you need assistance. We are all eager to meet you and help you.
and I guess my word of advice, as difficult as it is, just if you know you sent the items that, especially the admissions items, the transcripts that we're requesting on your checklist, you know you put the order in, you have that confirmation email or receipt or something that says you ordered it, just kind of, wait, take a deep breath, give us time to do all these different steps that we do. Again, the very last step that we do after several checks and everything is send an email to you saying we haven't gotten your document yet. So again, yes, it's July 1st. Your checklist likely won't be updated to even show what we have in our office by July 1st. So it's going to take us quite some time to get all the documents in, process through all of them. Even after we do that, then we do our double and triple checks on just to make sure we didn't overlook something that was sent to us. So again, it's going to be quite some time into July, probably the second or third week in July, before we start communicating with people who we did not receive required documents for. So just know that, give us time to process everything. And if you're one of the students who we happen to not get whatever you ordered, then there's still time. We'll work with you. So keep that communication open with us, confirm that you're interested in attending our campus, and we'll work with you to get whatever documents we need in after we've had time to sort through all the craziness that's happening right now.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for that great advice here at the end. And Ruben, would you mind hopping over to that contact screen for one last time? We'll go ahead and give our audience a quick chance. Thank you so much. A quick chance to go ahead and take a screenshot or a little picture with your smartphone. That way you have access to that later on. And once again, another quick reminder in that chat, we have been dropping tons of links. Take a quick second, start clicking on some of those. One of them, or several times it's been dropped there, is for the link for future events, as well as our instant replays from those that have already passed. Now, tonight's event has also been recorded. It should be up and available for you for on-demand replay, hopefully by the end of this week. So just keep a lookout for that. A couple upcoming events I'll quickly note for you. How to register for classes is coming up later this week. We also have another event just like this one, which is called UC Health Insurance and Vaccine Information, and also another one that is for billing support and financial wellness. Having said that, keep a lookout on that page. We may have lots more that we are adding along the way, and you definitely do not want to miss out on your opportunity for that. And one last thing, like you see on the screen, all of our social media network channels are there, so go ahead and start following us if you haven't already. We do our best to try and give you little reminders of dates, deadlines, events just like this one, and little in case you missed it, hop back over to our YouTube page and you can watch some of these instant replays. Thank you once again so much for joining us while we went over understanding your document deadline. My name's Ricky Hill. It's been so much fun being here with you. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time.